Hello everyone, this is your host Professor Reha here with the SMITE Beginner's Guide to Supporting, and we're going to be doing Joust, and I'm also going to use the God Selection screen to talk about support selection for when you've, used a couple of Guardians or otherwise other supports, and you kind of want to figure out what you should be looking for. So first off, you are going to be looking at playing, you want to actually announce your role here. Because in most, outside of Conquest, you're going to really have to, kind of not have assigned roles. In Conquest, your role is assigned based on the two options you pick, and then after that, you are, I actually have to announce it, and a lot of people will wait. He's looking to play a mage, which is fine, so we're looking at maybe Hades. I'm trying to figure out. It looks like he's trying to indicate to Silver Plays Bot that he can play either magic. Okay, he's going with Olrin, who's more of a magic ADC. But we don't really need to necessarily provide a ton of support for him. He's actually fairly self-sufficient overall. Maybe at least one form of good slowed down crowd control. I'm kind of leaning towards Kumbhakarna. Okay, we have Jing Wei. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Kumbhakarna here. Oh, you know what would actually probably be even nicer, though? Hold on. You know what would be even better would probably be Ares, in all honesty. Now, the reason why Ares is actually the choice to go with is Olrin doesn't need a whole lot to really hit stuff, and neither does Jing Wei. They both use heavy amounts of auto attacks. So what I really want to get done here is just slow down the enemy enough where they can't get, they can't use their escapes with Ares chains. And they're slowed down, and that's, all delicious and everything. Furthermore, his chains, you can send out 3 chains. You hit the first one, you get to send out a second one. You hit the second one, you get to send out a third one. So Ares is much stronger in Joust than he is in a lot of other modes, because he can lock down, well, not completely lock down, but he can drastically affect the entirety of the enemy team very easily. I haven't updated this in a hot minute. Alright, fair enough. Let me see. They have a balance of damage types. We have best up for physical, Terran E-set, so we'll go with this. We're going to play the longer game with Gauntlet of Thebes. Whether or not you build items besides that is totally up to you. I don't necessarily. We'll start with Magic Shell. It works very well with his second ability. We'll see how this goes. Now we are going for Gauntlet of Thebes, so we will want to play the opening a little bit slower here. Alright, Jim, we got herself in a little bit of trouble there, but it's not too bad. Over there is Z-set. Alright, let me just slap this down here so I can see what's going on. Okay. Not bad. Give us some HP 5 here to heal us up a little bit. Vesta's probably going to jump in when she does, so I'm going to be all over her. They actually have a pretty good team comp for what they have. The fact that she can still fly while the chains are on her is kind of strange, because that is, I believe, technically considered an escape ability. Anyway, it's picking a really unfortunate time to be going for the... Shoot. Get between. Oh, I tried, but it was not enough. Jingwei picked a very unfortunate time to go for the damage camp. That was primarily the issue there. And she didn't rejoin when she saw we were in trouble, so that was a bit of a problem there. She's going to die now for no reason. Oh no, she actually made it, okay. But yeah, what that was basically is that we were a little too far up, but Jingwei really didn't necessarily need to go for the damage camp at that time. They're probably on our... No, they're not on our magic. No, they're not on our magic, okay. Just going to help out with this a little bit, make this a little bit faster. Get some nice experience going on there. Alright. That didn't hit right? Interesting. Alright, good play, good play. Alright. Now I'm basically going to be, again, trying to play this a little safe. We're going to go ahead and use this for some nice HP regen. Bit of bronze protections. How did that not hit again? Really? I don't quite understand why that's not hitting. It should be. Okay. Unless the wall blocks it now, like it didn't before, but okay. They're just taking the individual kill and leaving. That's all they're doing. Ah, shoot. I was a little late on that last chain.
An enemy has been slain.
She beats that? She did. Okay. You said it's gonna go for me? Here she comes. Nope. She backed off. Okay. We're just gonna increase some health regeneration here. I just want, okay. We need to go, we need to go. Okay, good. Now we can get all the thieves going here, which is going to be really massive once I get those protections up. My next move, they have ESET and Terror, will definitely want Pestilence. Guaranteed. The only one who doesn't provide some form of healing to herself and allies is Bastet, really. Just wanted to scare a little bit by moving forward a little bit there. It worked. If it looks like you're prepping for something, most enemies will respond to that as if you are. See? Thank you, Bastet, for illustrating the point. I'm waiting for her to jump in again. She's almost healed back up. What has she got that heals? Okay, she's got Bluestone. That's fine. HP 5 is really good on that. What I need to do is time my chains so I stop Terra from using her abilities. Here we go again. Come on, Terra, I know you want to. She's waiting for it. I'm going to use this for some HP regen. Guess that's probably taking the mana buff if I had to take a guess. Good stun. I walked into that one. For no reason. I'm just going to ward these people off because if I can do that, there we go. Just force her out of her little altar. There we go. Now see, like I said, this is quite a hugely effective team comp for what they have. I can pull them out of ESET's ult. I can stop Terra from using her combo abilities. I'm just going to go ahead and tank this for a bit here. There we go. And I can prevent Bastet from jumping back, just like I did in that fight there. She wasn't able to jump back out of Olrin's ult because I was preventing her from doing so. No, I missed. She's going to die. I can't really stop that right now. It's very unfortunate. The fact that she popped backwards into their tower was deeply unfortunate. I'm going to die here too. No, he's going to save me? He did save me. Very nice. She's going to die of this. 100%. What's that? Yep, quick play. Nope. They really dove for me. Interesting. I'm a little surprised they went that deep. Especially since Jingwei is now in a good position to wipe the floor with them. Yeah. I mean, it worked out. I don't mind dying because she immediately picked up that stat. She's got a really good offense going here, although I fear that she's going to die. No, she might actually prevail here. Need the right thing kept there. She almost got Terra. I think she's gonna die for it. She's going too deep. Once she lost Terra, she should have just left. Olrin should be going in. You should not be there, Olrin, honestly. Well, at least we got their tower, so we have a pretty huge advantage right now just from that. This is almost fully stacked. Come on. Although we've got the mana buff, which is what he's going for now, so that'll cap it off, which is what I really want right now. Excellent, there it is. Alright, that's excellent. Ah, it was just a hair too slow, but I can at least keep this going. Make sure that they get that. Yep, okay. We're looking for an opportunity to get in here. She didn't need to stun him there. That was a complete waste of her ability. Ah, I missed again. Where's Jingwei? Where's Jingwei? Alright, who we got here? Terra. That's not bad. I'm waiting for them to try to attack. Yep, not today, Zerg. Got you that time. That was very predictable. Badly telegraphed. Increase our ult here for a second. No? I knew exactly what best I was going to think of. I put that up mostly so I could give Ulrun some bonus protections there. Did I have my chains up at that time? Shoot. Every time she goes for the damage camp by herself, people die. Yeah, she'll make it just fine. Actually, I think everyone's going to make it just fine. Okay, I'm going to need to go back to Pestilence. Pesty, and then I want massive amounts of cooldowns, so we're going to go right into Breastplate of Valor right after that. Although, do I necessarily want that? I don't know, I feel like... I could do better for cooldowns. I can't. Well, in terms of physical protections, I have some ideas here, but... I missed that. It's not really a big deal. I'm just going to go for the Breastplate of Valor. It's going to be my best option at this point. I have my ult in a couple of seconds. I want to grab Bastet with it. Come here. Oh, they're going to have a really bad time here. Oh, I missed that. Don't steal it, don't steal it. There we go. Really, it's just a matter of who locks down more of the enemy team in a joust. That's all it really comes down to. In Conquest, it's a little bit more lock down one enemy and then kind of use the remainder of your team, which would be the 5 people, to finish off the remaining 4 of theirs. That's generally the idea there, but in Joust, the actual idea is how many enemies can I wrap up in crowd control at any one given moment? Because with only 3 enemies on the enemy team, it's a lot easier to actually lock down an entire enemy team. It's very difficult to do this in Conquest with 5, and with larger maps, but in the small contained map of Joust plus the just smaller team numbers, it's actually very possible for you as a support to be able to lock down an entire enemy team, and whoever can do that the most successfully is generally going to give their team a huge chance at victory here. What are you doing? Wasting time? Okay, fair enough. They want to fight me here? You want to do this? That's what I thought. Terra's going to be pretty aggressive, I think. They really need a win. They're losing their early lead. Getting my Ares legs back. Haven't been him in a couple months. Which is why his build is outdated. Okay, I was there just in case she was pulling the other move, but she did not. Okay. I'm probably going to die for this, but... No, I'm not. Never mind. Come on. I cannot believe she survived that. Okay, so I'm predicting that they're pretty soon going to be diving the tower for us. Now they're going to heal. And hang back and heal. Wait for the remaining wave. Gotcha. The dodges are fairly predictable. Issa didn't even try to dodge that. Trying to keep Olin alive. There we go. I don't have the health for this. I just don't have the health to take the Phoenix right now, honestly. That's what it basically comes down to. They don't need me. If Jingwei does not have... Okay, but Olin does. I was going to say, if Jingwei has lifesteal, that's fine. We're going to go for Voidstone next, and then I'll probably finish up with Mystical Mail so I can do some fairly interesting sources of damage. They shouldn't... Yeah, I was going to say they don't need me over there. The Bull Demon is very easy to kill. It doesn't hit that hard, honestly. You really don't need a support for that. The support in Joust, it's very similar to support in Conquest. You really exist not to tank it, but to keep enemies off of it while your allies do the actual killing of the jungle objective. But the Bull Demon King is so easy to eliminate that there's really no need for you to be there to tank it. you're way better off just preventing the enemy from going for it. But at that point, they only had Terra, who wasn't going to have the guts to try to steal that herself, because I don't think she's building... Yeah, she's building full tank, so she's not really... Well, she's going hybrid now. She's probably going into the, what do you call that? The one that provides the shield when you heal people. But, the bonus protections, I should be saying. But, she's not really got the kind of damage output where she's confident enough to try to steal that. So, I'm waiting for a big move here. Alright, that's fine. Okay, that's most of their early warning system. I'm just going to vault in here and stop this from happening. I missed. I was way too short there. And that's Iset dead. Shell up here. I missed that, which is very unfortunate. Okay, that was fairly impressive, actually. We'll just take their Phoenix, though. There's not really anything they can do about it right now. We get this free. Very nice. I'll wipe out this. There we go. We gotta get out of here. I'm probably not gonna make it. No, she's gonna leave me alone. I can see this. She's just after the wave. That's fine. I didn't want to fight her there because he sets back up and Xingwei is not, so that was not going to be a battle that would end well in our favor. That would very quickly become a 3v2, which is not what I wanted there, so I'm just going to go back. I'm going to grab... No, I'm going to let... she's actually not going to take that, okay. I thought Xingwei was interested in that, but that is not the case. You know what, I'm actually in good enough condition where I don't need to go back right now. I could grab Blink, but it's not really going to be important right now. I want to farm a little bit more. Alright. There we go. Yeah, I should be fine. Grab Blink. Wait a couple of seconds for Voidstone. There we go. And then we'll finish up with a nice Mystical Mail. That'll put us in a really strong position. I thought for sure Bastet was going to try to jump onto Ulrun. Try and take him out in one fell swoop. That was nice. They both had... I'm just glad Ulrun didn't use his ult there. It could have been very bad. Oh, that was devastating. Can I get her? No. So just get her. There's Bastet. She's just trying to make it back to the fountain. She's gonna die to the fire minions. You can't get out, can you? Oh, I missed that. That's unfortunate. Oh, we have minions. I don't need to be tanking this right now. You have... Alright. So, really, that's the big difference with Joust, really, is you actually want to be ultimately trying to lock down as many of the enemies as possible. This takes some getting used to. If you've been practicing, like most people, if you've been practicing your support skills in Conquest and Clash, and I recommend Clash a little first because that helps you transition into late game better. And it's they're a bit faster and you can really understand how to protect allies just through sheer dint of team fights. But really, when you're playing Joust, you are trying to lock down as many people as possible, and really, Terra is fine in Joust. She's actually very strong in Joust. The real only problem with Terra here is that she was a bad matchup against Ares. Actually, overall, the enemy team really didn't like our team composition. I could pull everyone out, like I said earlier, I could pull everyone out of Iset's ults, I could lock down Bastet when she goes in, which is why she very rarely went in, and I could prevent Terra from initiating very easily, because unfortunately, one of Terra's big flaws is that she's extremely predictable. You can see all of her abilities coming from a mile away. Yes, sometimes I walked into them because I wasn't paying too much attention to my own self. I was too busy looking at my allies. But nevertheless, she's very predictable. It is very easy to see what she is about to do in the next couple of seconds. And if you're Ares and you've played Terra and you're good with Ares, once I got into my groove, you'll notice I was able to interrupt most of her attempts at initiation. This was not an accident. I've played Terra before. I've played Terra against Ares before. I know what it's like. I know what her movement. I know what her move speed is for that. I just had to remember how fast the chains go, because the chains go kind of slow. It's very weird. But I was able to really pick up a lot of the chains as I got remembering Ares' chain speed. But nevertheless, that's really what you're looking for there. I do actually want to take a hot minute and talk about some specific guardians and some specific supports that are actually very good in Joust, more so than in other modes. Ares, I've already mentioned, is particularly useful in Joust because he can lock down the 3. Kepri actually finds a little bit more success in this mode as in Joust as well, because when you go to abduct somebody, rather than having 4 enemies jump on top of you, it's only 2, besides the one you've grabbed. So he actually has a much better survival rate and actually does very well here. Athena, I'm actually going to point out, does not do quite as well here, primarily because, one, as powerful as the taunt is, it's a little bit tough for a mere wave ability to hit all of the enemy, especially as 1 or 2 of the enemy are going to be farther back because they're going to be someone ranged. So Athena isn't any better or worse on her base kit, but her ultimate means less in any mode that is in Conquest. Being able to traverse those huge distances in Conquest are a huge reason why Athena is so strong in Conquest, and taking that away in any smaller map really does mitigate the use of her ult specifically. The rest of her kit is pretty much unchanged. She still is useful generally as she is in Conquest, but her ult is just a little bit individually not quite as strong. I will also point out that Bracken is unusually good in Joust because you have access to 2 stuns, which is 2/3 of the enemy team. Very easy to not lock down the entire enemy team unless you're very lucky and you can get 2 enemies with your shield slam, where you have the fractured shield, I believe it's called. I can't remember off the top of my head, I'm pretty bad with names. But if you get 2 enemies with that and you get a 3rd with the single stun, then you're in pretty good condition. And also the tremors you can use in the middle of a team fight, especially often the jungle of Joust, that makes it very difficult to get away from him because of those tight and closed spaces. This is actually why Terra is often very useful in Joust as well. Again, that jungle area is very tough to get away from Terra's root with, as well as both Bracken's tremors and Terra's potential root, her healing stone, both cover almost the entire width of the lane. Sylvanas is another interesting choice. He's okay in this mode. He's really big on sustain, which you may have noticed isn't a huge deal in Joust. Obviously, Joust games tend to run pretty quick. It's a very short time to and from Fountain. Sustain doesn't really mean as much, so while Sylvanas' abilities are pretty good in Joust, his sustain means less, and his sustain is one of those big reasons why you want to play him. For pretty much everyone else, it's fairly average. Ymir can be very effective, again, jungles, cutting off the jungle there, but with Ymir, unlike in Conquest, where you can only cut off specific points with his wall, in Joust, you've got a bevy of narrow areas that you can cut off with the wall. So Ymir, depending on how well you play him, can be very powerful in Joust. Same thing with Yamoja's water circles as well. I'm not personally a big fan of Yamoja. She is my least favorite because I don't like the Omi system. Personal preference. But otherwise, my personal dislike of her kit notwithstanding, she's very effective in Joust. She can put up 2 of those water circles, which I can't remember the names of, which push the enemies towards you, and then they're stuck. They're doomed. So overall, I would say those are really big points. Cthulhu can also be very useful in this mode. His ult is impossible to escape in Joust, almost literally, unless you're very quick and you've got a lot of escapes. And that would be a majority of them, yeah. Fafnir is good in Dragon mode. He's got 2 stuns, one of which, of course, can potentially stun multiple enemies, which is really nice. Pretty big deal there. But really, his regular form isn't any better or worse in Joust than in any other mode. As for warriors that I like playing in Joust, generally, I'm not really going to go hardcore into warriors in Joust. Horus is nice. He's got a pop-up and a stun. He's fairly nice for that. Guan Yu is very difficult to get away from in Joust. Again, that small jungle. That's really nice. I find Osiris to be very effective with the right allies. That last match would have been a great place to use Osiris, actually. Kind of similar idea to the slows from Ares Chains, just without the cripple, which, of course, is somewhat more limited, but beyond that, it's fine. So those are big standouts. Odin's Cage, if you decide to use him as a support, which I don't anymore. I used to play a lot of support Odin back in the day, but I personally find I like playing him a little bit more hybrid now with his new kit. For mages, really the only mages that I play as supports pretty consistently would be Hel, who is really no different. Aphrodite, who isn't really supremely awesome in the role anyways, but it's just how I prefer to play her. Baron Sambi, who actually is very good as a support in this mode. Again, this is down to really being effective in the jungle, being able to inflict very odd crowd controls. His ultimate can be really quite devastating, actually, even if you can only stun one enemy, because you can pull, theoretically, most of the enemy team, which, if you play him right and you kind of turn away to let them get a little bit of distance and then turn back to start pulling them in again, that can be extremely effective for almost locking down to possibly all of the enemy team. And finally, Iset, when she's played as a support, can be very effective because she's got the silence, she's got the stun, she's got her ult. I don't play her as support a ton, but I have done it before and it has been very effective. And of course, Hades, same thing. Small jungle, Hades ult, Hades silence actually is impossible to get away from because that actually covers the expanse of the jungle. His explosion there that can heal, that's very powerful as well. Zonqui's stun, fairly nice, but it's really the only stun that he's got, and the only crowd control that he's got. Denzaburou is actually very effective. I haven't played a ton of him as a support, obviously. I've played him some as a warrior, some as an ADC, some as a support. But he, and I'll be honest, I haven't personally tested this, but based on what I know of his kit, I would be anticipating that he would be very devastating in Joust. You've got the bags that are going to bounce back and forth in the jungle. You've got the Saki, which easily covers the width of the jungle area. Also the intersections in the jungle, that's pretty huge. The campsites, the mana and damage camps, boom, that covers almost the entirety of those areas as well. Very potent. Huge fan. He's about the only hunter I pretty consistently play as support at this point. I used to play a decent amount of Apollo support for fun. I don't really anymore. He dies too fast nowadays. And for support assassins, really I would say just Ravon would make for a really effective support here, because again, you have your root, you have a slow, the slow being on an incredibly short cooldown, and having a small wave area in front of you. Very potent, very strong. I do find him potentially quite useful in Joust. Of course, if you go too deep, you're probably dead. Daji, again, is similar to Ares, and I'll actually only really play her in the support role in Joust, to be completely honest. I don't play her in support role in any other modes, because her ult, the 3 chains, it's absolutely fantastic. The reason why I don't really play her as a support in the other modes is because her ultimate is her only real form of crowd control. She's got a slow on her fire knives, and that's it. So ultimately, she's not really that great of a support, but she can be a very effective support in Joust. And if you are really crazy and you really want to play a support Daji, practice in Joust first, because that's where you're really going to make the most impact with her, and then just kind of build her up and adapt her to other modes as you go. I recommend against it, because again, she's only got her only form of real hard crowd control is her ultimate, because slows are soft crowd control, which I suppose I should really define that. When you are playing any MOBA, you are going to see the terms soft and hard crowd control. Now, I don't know what's considered soft and hard crowd control for Dota 2 or League of Legends. And I know for a fact that Hi-Rez defines slow and hard, hard and soft crowd controls differently than I do. Excuse me. But I define hard crowd control as any form of crowd control that fully prevents one of your actions. Be this a root, which prevents you from moving, a silence preventing you from using your abilities, a stun preventing you from doing anything, a sleep which prevents you from doing anything until you're hit, anything like that. I consider all of those hard crowd controls. If you are fully unable to perform some specific general action that is common across all characters, use an ability, auto attack. I consider cripples to be, and disarms to be hard crowd control as well, for the same reason. Well, no, cripples prevent escape abilities. And soft crowd control I consider as anything that moves you, pushes, pulls, whatever, and slows. I'm still trying to mentally debate whether or not I should consider cripples to be soft or hard. I kind of flip-flop on that. I know I just defined it as hard crowd control, but it's the only one I really am not sure where I would place it, because it does prevent you from using escape abilities, but ultimately not everyone has escape abilities. So whether or not that matters is entirely dependent upon the context, I guess. I guess probably safest I would consider cripples to be soft. I'll probably change my mind every once in a while, but cripples are up for interpretation. So if you have a perspective on whether or not cripples are hard or soft crowd control, be my guest. Please leave it down in the comments below, because I can never decide. It's the one crowd control in this game that I can't decide on, but that's generally how I define them. But Daji's only form of hard crowd control is the pull stun that she gets on her ultimate, which of course is on a long cooldown, so it's really not ideal for support. But it is worth mentioning. But with that being said, thank you all very much for joining me, and if you liked this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, or requests, or ideas on the nature of cripple as a crowd control, please leave them down in the comment section below, and have a great 24 hours.